My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content.
Hey gang, welcome back. If you're in the capital raising world, chances are you've heard about this magical thing called self-directed IRAs, and you'd love to get people involved. You'd love to get access to your investors' money that they've got in their IRAs. It's a big benefit for them. It's a benefit for you, but how do you do it? Well, today, zooming in, we've got Amanda Holbrook, and that's exactly what she's going to help us do, is show people how to access IRAs, turn them into self-directed accounts, and raise capital that way. So Amanda, welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate you having it on. Yeah, it's a pertinent topic for everybody out there. You know, good OPM, right?
Yeah, exactly. Other people's money. So first things first, Amanda, tell me a little bit about you and the company and how long you've been in this, what you guys at Specialized Trust Company do.
Sure. So Specialized Trust Company, for those of you who can't see, I look like a talking business card here. We are a self-directed IRA custodian, but in the business for, over a decade as far as a firm, but behind the helm, I've got over 15 years of experience, over 20 plus from partners and founders here, so our mission statement is to help you invest in what you know, right? It's your money, it's your future, it's your way. And with retirement accounts, as we know, they're all typically stuck in the stock market, so it's our, steward of the good word, if you will, Dave, to spread that, hey, you can take control of your money. And real estate investors are great because they're always talking about, hey, this is my platform, this is what we're doing. And this is always a phenomenal tool in their toolbox, not only just to keep more of what they make from Uncle Sam's pocket, but also to scale and fuel the engine of their business through, we like the acronym OPI. Dave, you ever hear that one?
No, I don't think I have. Amanda, what is it?
Yeah, other people's IRAs. I know, drum roll.
IRA. Yeah. Okay, cool. So when it comes to real estate investors, Amanda, I think there's some arm's length rules about using your own IRA to invest in your own deals, and that's a no-no. So probably most of our listeners and viewers are looking at this like, okay, how can I access other people's IRAs? So maybe tell us, what have you seen in your experience with your clients or with real estate capital raisers when it comes to them effectively getting people involved and setting up self-directed IRAs through you guys and getting all of that rolling?
Absolutely. So if you're, and I'll touch on, what you can do with your own account, but let's focus on other people's IRAs, right? So just in any business model, you typically start with, your sphere of influence, right? Friends, family, those that know you, those are watching you, those are following you on social media, old colleagues, college buds, et cetera. The circle goes out. So as long as they're not, up and down on your family tree, so your spouse, parents, grandparents, children, grandchildren, a fiduciary, so that trunk of the tree, they can be your private money lender, so
your IRA. Got it.
Correct. With their IRA. That's exactly it. So when I do a lot of like education and coaching and training or in and around the subject, and it's, a lot of times you feel as an operator, you have your hand out, right? Like, oh, give me money. Oh, I need this. I need that. Mm-hmm. No, you are the superhero. Like, straighten your cape. Like, you are the solution to their problem, whether they are voicing that to you or not. And their problem is their lack of diversification, right? They're in the stock market, right? Because that's where everyone's trained to be. Now, unless you have a crystal ball that I don't know about, because I know I don't, you are in some way, shape, or form buying, holding, hoping, and praying, that everything keeps going up in the right direction. There's no real control there. So what you as an operator are offering them is a tangible foundational base to their portfolio, that is secured by tangible property, that is insured, et cetera. And Yeah, they're financial professionals at the big banks, that shall remain nameless unless they're independent. I'm going to tell you, when they bring this idea to them, what do they say, Dave? I know you've heard these stories time and again, as I have.
What's keen because they
brownie face. Yeah, they don't make any money on it, so they'll say, "Oh, it's horrible," But in reality, there's no one a better steward of your funds and your profits than yourself. So if you have a great business model and you're raising capital, and that's an opportunity, obviously, for you, it is an opportunity for them. I mean, they would much rather see you pay them than the bank, put the money back onto Main Street off of Wall Street. So the big value add there is the way that you approach that conversation. You're already everybody's always talking about themselves, their business, and what they're doing these days, right? Just add that one liner. Hey, what you doing? I'm earning double digits in folks' retirement accounts, inside and outside their retirement accounts. But I do real estate right here in our backyard and double digits. Great. Get it off of Wall Street onto Main Street. How would you, do you know anybody who'd be interested in that? And what does that pose? Like right there, more questions like, oh, what are you talking about? And you're going to get one of three responses. Either cross-eyed, I'm not qualified, I have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah, crickets, right? I'd be interested. Or you're gonna, yeah, I know this guy over here would love to hear more about that. Or, hey, talk to my brother, my sister, or my friend, etc. So it's just a matter of getting out of your own way, getting out of your own head, and, having that conversation from a position of, power, confidence, and teamwork, co-investing, not like, hey, I need this. If you're coming from that, the aspect of, like I need, which we all do, whether they're voicing it or not, it's the right butts in the right seats, right? If you've ever read Traction, right? It's the same thing applies to your business as to your relationships, your vendors, your business partners, et cetera. I always use, are you a fan of like DC or Marvel stuff? Let's call it like your financial Avenger squad, right? You got to have right folks on the team.
Well, let me ask a tactical question then, Amanda. That's some really good advice and how you can kind of create some curiosity there. The next step would be to make sure you're not fumbling and bumbling around when they say, yeah, I'm interested. How does that work? So typically, what do you recommend that real estate operators tell their prospects to help them get set up with a self-directed IRA? What does that side of things look like?
Sure. Okay. So as far as like loading your lips there, I'm not going to give you a talk track, okay, or anything like that. Don't go talking about stuff that you don't know. Be honest, be humble. Hey, I know this is possible. I've got a gal. I've got the best team over here, right? And leave that technicality to us. That's the same thing like when you have attorneys and CPA, you talk about, yes, you know enough to be dangerous. You don't want to discredit yourself or talk as an expert where you're not. But it's the who, not the how. So at that point, just say, hey, I know it's possible. I know it's easy. And I will introduce you to my team, and that's literally like where I want you. Now, I'm more than happy to educate you. Like, I want you to feel comfortable and know the process, of course, but I don't want you to spend your time talking about stuff where like that's our job, right? Shoot over an email intro, a text intro. That's literally your next step. Hey, my team is your team when we co-invest. I'll introduce you to my gal. All I know, it's easy, it's quick. In 2 weeks or less, your funds will be ready to deploy and we can get working together. Let me show you what that would look like and pivot that conversation back to, you as the value proposition.
Hey there, if you're a capital raiser, a syndicator, or a fund manager, and you're looking for a steady flow of incoming accredited investor leads, then go ahead, grab a free copy of my new book, How to Get 20 Accredited Investor Meetings Every Month Without Cold Calling, Networking, or Chasing People. You can get that at 20accreditedinvestorsbook.com. Again, that's the number 20accreditedinvestorsbook.com.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good advice. Okay, very good. So, Amanda, we were talking a little bit offline about something interesting that you do as well, which is kind of helping people to get their kids involved, get like an intergenerational thing going with these self-directed IRAs. Maybe give us a taste of what that's looking like.
Yeah, so I mean, I know majority here, if you're active in the real estate world, like you've heard of self-directed IRAs and retirement accounts. So, like, Dave, what can we talk about that's a bit different? So one of the approaches we take is the why most do retirement accounts or any type of tax sheltered account was to keep it, not give it to Uncle Sam, but two, typically family plays into that why. You want to do for your kids better than your parents did for you. You want to leave something behind. You want to teach them to fish, right? Not just hand it on over and watch it squander one generation away. So what we do here is we have something we call it's a platinum program. We call it our family plan, where when we sit down with our clients, we look at ways, that you can pay your kids and get them Roth IRAs, get it tax-free, and, HSAs, solo 401ks. So now you end up with, and some of you may be in this boat. You have all these buckets, right? All these different little accounts. And it's like, how do we get them working together?
Mm-hmm.
Put your investor hat on. When you have a multiple amount of, you got a couple people in a deal, what do? That's just structure, right? You can partner them together. And that vehicle's typically, and I'm not an attorney here, guys, but it's typically an LLC. Can retirement accounts partner together in an LLC where maybe mom and dad's 401ks own the lion's share, but little Timmy and Susie's Roths own 20%? Sure.
Yeah.
And now you have one simplified. I'm a big KISS person. I mean, let me rephrase that. I am a big keep it simple silly person, and so you have like one operating account, that grows generationally. So think of that for your own kids, and you can think of it up and down on the family tree. If, some are stewards of their parents' accounts, they will inherit one day, or they already have inherited IRAs. It's a beautiful, beautiful way to grow them by, and again, investing in what you know. Like that, right. that is the key.
From our perspective as operators, it's another opportunity to potentially access even more capital by you guys showing our investor how they can bring on their spouse, their parents, their children, and everybody can be involved in this amazing investment opportunity.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. Good stuff, Amanda. So as we're kind of wrapping up our conversation, I know you work with a ton of individual clients and their specific accounts, but I imagine you work with quite a few real estate operators, the people we're talking to today, helping them to bring people in and get them set up with this. Do you happen to have like a favorite success story on the top of your head of one of the operators that you've worked with and helped them to access OP IRAs?
Yes. So let's see. One I can tell you was so this was actually a debt fund that they were creating. And those of you who are listening, I'm sure you know what a debt fund is. And they had some pretty lofty numbers to hit. So, again, I'm a passive custodian, a recommender, Dorsey, so passive asset sponsor, blah, 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 blah. But I can co-educate, So what we were able to do is we got together and we co-educated on, hey, did you know that you can take your old TSP or old 401k, roll it over here, and then have it give you a consistent, predictable monthly return. You can opt to go back and compound. And then you can also be exited within 60 to 90 days if need be. Now, that is a recipe for, retirement, right? You want consistent, predictable monthly cash flow. So as you can imagine, as we went forward with this campaign, it caught on like wildfire, and what they gave themselves kind of a 24-year runway to do, they were able to hit in 9 months.
So what did that actually look like?
So what that looked like is they wanted to get a $15 million line together to be able to lend out, to rehabbers and other operators. And they have the infrastructure to vet the deals and underwrite the deals on the back end. So what that looked like was doing a lot of co-education like this. They had an internal team and we set up, SOPs. And we had strict KPIs on the back end for everybody that kind of came through the funnel to make sure that they were not only, touched that relationship there's compliance reasons why that relationship was established, but also keeping the timelines tight of establishing the account, getting the funds over. So it was just a domino effect. Because if you've talked, and you've probably had this experience, many operators that will incorporate self-directed funds into their mix, a lot of times don't have a Specialized or an Amanda Holbrook from Specialized in their, as the go-to, right? So then it's like, oh, here's one of 3 operators. Go check them out, and then 90 days later, oh, I haven't moved my funds at all. It kind of fell by the wayside. 6 months later, you still don't have funds in your deal. And that's what falls through, the cracks.
So what were you guys doing? Were you doing webinars on a regular basis? Were you doing onesie education presentations? What did that look like from
Yeah. So logistically, top end funnel, so we did go ahead and we did, a top end education funnel. When they came through so many action items, then we did a more intimate group. And then we went down to one-on-one, and then there were, kind of some drip information done in between. And then we were going to kind of mimicking, as part of our system on the back end as well, because it's purely education. Right. I mean, with self-direction, and this because you've successfully raised how much in your career, Dave? I mean,
well, I help other people raise, but yeah, quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, quite a bit. I mean, you've got the system down, right? So it's just a matter of, tightening up the ship is what we were able to do. And everything, just like any business, when you systematize it, and you have systems and checks and balances in the back end, you will hit that, but you got to do the work. And, I think having that very educational, humble touch is the big one, and it's not a matter if it makes sense, it's just when, so some of those folks that, maybe only started with, 50 now, have more in, or, that heard about it, that kind of got cold feet, kind of saw the proof in the pudding and then came back later. And that's continuing to happen today still.
No, it makes a ton of sense. Well, that's exciting stuff, Amanda. Now, if people are watching this, they can scan your QR code and get in touch with you that way. But if they're listening to this, what's the best way for people to find out more?
Yeah, absolutely. SpecializedTrustCompany.com, guys. You have all the information there. You can reach me directly from there. And you've got my calendar and all my contact info if you're watching me in person right now. So thank you so much, Dave. You're an amazing interviewer. You've done a great job with us. I love listening to your episodes. So I appreciate you getting me on here.
Thanks for being on, and thanks for tuning in, everybody. And we will see you on the next one.
Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewsyou.com.